Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nikki, known here as the One-Handed Bandit. And as you can probably tell by today's video, I am going to be featuring my go-to products. If I had to choose one product out of a specific category, these would be the products that I would use. Now, I get questions all the time in my inbox on Instagram and from friends and family asking me what type of foundation should I use, or can you recommend a primer so I can stay matte all day? What people fail to realize about makeup is that most of us are MUEs, makeup enthusiasts. We're not makeup artists. I can't recommend products for you. I can just tell you what I like and what I use, how it works for me, and that's just about it. You know, makeup is trial and error. I mean, my makeup hasn't always been great. I mean, you can tell from the videos on my channel, I struggled with makeup for a while. I'm starting to right now get my groove of things, and I'm, you know, learning. I've already done my brows off camera, and just to save us some time, I also did some concealer on my eyelids as well. So starting with eyeshadow, purple is my favorite color. Purple, I will purchase anything purple, a purse, a wallet, a keychain, shoes, socks, clothes, whatever. Anything that's purple, I'll definitely grab that before I grab anything else. One of my favorite palettes, if I was to grab a palette and let's just say someone said you can only have one palette, what would that palette be? And for me, it would be the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina Palette Volume 1. Now, there are some mixed reviews about this palette. A lot of people said that they don't like it. I particularly love the palette. I love all 4 of the palettes in the series. And just so you can just take a look and refresh your memory, this is what the palette looks like. So it doesn't have that many purples, but you have a good amount. I'd say about 5 good purple shades. So I'm just going to start, and I'm just going to dig right into this palette. I'm using my Morphe 504 brush, and I am going in with this first shade right here, A2. I personally feel like people don't like these shadows is because they are pressed pigments, and a lot of people don't know how to work with pressed pigments. I have had a little bit of experience with pressed pigments. I wouldn't say I'm an expert or anything, but I have used quite a few in the past, and I find them, to be honestly, I find them easy to work with. Now that I have the purple all blended out, I'm going to go in with this pink shade right here, and I'm just gonna add that above the purple. Just gonna tap it on just right here on my arch. And then I'm going to go back with the brush that I used with the purple, and I'm just going to blend. I have that added. I'm going to dip back into the palette, and I'm going to use this black shade. just gonna clean off the brush that I used for the pink, and I'm gonna dip back into the purple just to build up the purple a little bit. Cleaning off that brush again, and I'm gonna go back with the pink. So if you don't know, one of my favorite looks to do is a cut crease, and I'm going to cut my crease, and I'm using the P. Louise base in Rumor 3, and I'm just going to take a little bit on my hand, about that much. And I'm just going to take my concealer brush and carve out my crease. This is a concealer brush by the Crayon Case, and so I want a pretty large cut crease today. So I'm taking that up really high. That's one eye cut already. The hardest part for me with the cut crease is getting my eyes even. I feel like I have the most uneven eyes, and I can never get them absolutely perfectly even. So if you haven't noticed, when I use a palette, I typically like to use the entire palette for my look. If I can't create an entire look with the palette, then I typically won't buy it. So this is one of the reasons why I love the Anastasia palettes, is because you can create so many different looks with the palettes, and it doesn't hurt to dip into another palette, but my preference is to complete a total look with a palette. So for the lid, I'm going to go with this pink, and then I'll do the gold and then the white in the inner corner. So starting with the pink, I'm going to do that on the outer V. Another thing that I notice is when I do both eyes at the same time, they typically come out much better, like moving from eye to eye. If I do one eye all together and then try to work on the second, it typically doesn't come out as nice for me. So this is just what I prefer to do. So now that that's on, I'm going to go in with the gold, and I just flip my brush over, and now I apply the gold. And I just go over the pink just a little bit on the edge, just so that it's a seamless blend. I probably could have took this cut crease up much higher. So I'm just going to add my liner off camera, and this is the liner that I'm going to be using by Drench Cosmetics, which is also black owned. I found them on Twitter and I saw a lot of people retweeting them, so I decided to place an order because they were donating part of their proceeds to, I believe, Black Lives Matter or a LGBTQ organization. I'm not sure, but it was for a good cause, so I decided to purchase, and I love the liner. I did swatch it on my hand one day and it stayed on my hand all day. Like, I had to get in the shower at night with my body wash and like literally scrub it off my arm. But the funny thing is, when I use it on my eyes, it's not that hard to get off with, you know, makeup remover or makeup wipe. So I'm just gonna line my eyes and pop on lashes. So the eyes are all done, and now it's time to apply my face makeup. And one of my favorite primers, which doesn't get a lot of recognition, is the Ole Henriksen Bright Primer, the Banana Bright Face Primer. I love the Ole Henriksen Banana products. I use the cleanser, the moisturizer, and they feel really good on the skin as well. If I had to choose a foundation, it would absolutely be the NARS Naturally Radiant Foundation, and I am in the shade Caracas. So I'm just going to apply that to my face. I've added a few drops of foundation, and I'm just going to blend that out. Look how nicely that blends out. So now that my foundation is all blended, if I were to choose a concealer, it would definitely be the Toofaced Born This Way concealer. Now, I do use two shades. I do like to use two colors of concealer. So this one is Butterscotch, and this one is closer to my skin tone. Because the other one that I'm about to use is lighter, and I like to use a lighter concealer to give me some brightness under my eye, because as you can see, it is super dark under there. So I basically just make a V shape. And then I just pop the lighter concealer right in the middle of the V. And then I take the lighter concealer and highlight my nose. One of the best tips that I've learned with makeup is to let your concealer dry down and get a little bit tacky. Just like you do with your lash glue, you let it dry down and get a little tacky. The same goes for your concealer. Sometimes I'll just go around the house and do something really quick and come back and then blend it. Or if I'm filming or recording or doing a makeup look for Instagram, I normally just grab my hand fan and dry it down really quickly, and that's what I'm going to do. So this is just the fan that I just that looks like it's dried down enough. So I'm just going to take my setting brush and I'm just going to lightly tap. And I'm going to edit this portion, but you'll see that it doesn't take me long to blend it out, but it actually does in real life. It takes a while to blend out your under eye concealer. So blending is the key. Blend it all out. And then I'm just going to go back with my foundation brush and just blend out the edges. So now there's no harsh line. Now for setting powder, I did have a hard time choosing a setting powder because I enjoyed the Anastasia Beverly Hills setting powder, Sacha Buttercup, the Crayon Case setting powder, Fenty setting powder, Huda, Maybelline, ColourPop. I love all those setting powders. But if I had to grab one, it would definitely be the Laura Mercier translucent setting powder. And the reason why I would choose this one is because it doesn't leave a white ashy cast. None of the ones that I mentioned do that, but I know that this would be a never fail setting powder for me. So I am just going to, I don't have much product left. Just took a little bit into the cap and I'm just going to set my under eye. So next up it would be to set my face, and the product that I would grab first would be the Jouer Hydrate Plus Set Setting Powder, and I use this to set the foundation. So I set the concealer, and so now I'm just going to set the foundation. And I like this powder because it doesn't give you any coverage. What it does is it doesn't make my face lighter or darker. It just does what it's supposed to do, and that's just set your foundation. And you can already start to see the difference. If you didn't know, you do know now that I enjoy the entire line of Sephora collection products. One thing that I do love is this face palette, and I have the shade Deep. They have 3, and this is the deep one. So I love this palette because it has multiple purposes. You have highlights, you have blushes, and you also have bronzers and contours. So I'm going to use the palette today to bronze my skin, and I'm taking this shade right here, which is called Jet Setter, and I'm using that to contour my nose. and to also bronze my face. So if you ever purchase a foundation that is too light, I personally just keep it because I know how to maneuver it. I know how to, you know, if it's too light, I can add bronzer and deepen it up. So now that we're all bronzed and contoured, I'm going to go in with a blush. So one of the reasons why I chose the Sephora face palette is because it has blush and highlight shades in it, but I typically like to go for more of a orange terracotta blush. Now the Sephora palette does have a orange blush in it, but it has a shimmer, and I typically like matte shades. But the reason why I chose this palette is because I have more options with this palette. So for a blush, I'm going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk Intense blush, and this is the one for a deeper skin tone. And I'm not going to highlight today. I'm really not into highlight lately, so I'm just going to pop that onto my cheek. And a thing about this Charlotte Tilbury blush is that it has this lighter shade in the middle, so that gives you just a tad bit of shimmer. It's not, you know, super glittery, but it adds a little bit of brightness and sheen to the blush. And next I'm just going to go back into that Norvina eyeshadow palette, and I'm just going to add the purple and the pink under my eye. And I'm just going to take the white matte eyeshadow in that same palette, and I love a matte white eyeshadow in the inner corner. So I'm just going to pop that right there. For lips, as I mentioned before, one of my favorite lipsticks or lip glosses is by the brand Artist Couture, and my favorite shade is the shade Shameless. And that's simply because I don't need a lip liner, I don't need anything with this. I can just pop this on and go. And that is it. That is the final look of my go-to products. What are your go-to products? Let me know down below in the comments. If you had to choose a favorite foundation, if you only had a choice of a one eyeshadow palette, what would your choices be? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.